Okay. So grammar, it is almost 120 students in this classroom, fully packed.
100 students. Fantastic. Hello, everybody. It's morning in England now. I imagine it's afternoon where you are. So it's actually raining today in Cambridge, but I'm sure it's very hot and nice weather where you are. One thing English people do a lot is talk about the weather because it changes during the year. We have four seasons, so we have spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And I personally prefer the summer because I like hot weather. So I have never been to India, but I would very much like to go. I lived in Brazil, in South America, for many years, and now I live in Cambridge, in England, which is about 1 hour from London, the capital of England. Okay? And I used to teach English like your teacher. I used to be an English teacher, but now I work to support older people in the community.
Hello, sir. My name is Padmaja. I'm an 8th grader. I'm so glad to interact with you. Now, I would like to ask you a question. Can I ask, sir?
Okay?
Could you please tell us life like in Cambridge?
Um, Cambridge is a city that has many bicycles. Lots of people like to use their bicycle to go to school and to go to work because it's very flat. It's very flat like this. There are no mountains, so it's very easy to cycle. It's also a very old city that has a university that was built about 700 years ago. So it's a very, very old university with old buildings and a very good university. Lots of students come from all over the world, including from India, to study at the University of Cambridge. And one of the things I like about Cambridge is that it has a river that goes through the middle of the city. And in the summer, people like to go out on boats in the river and enjoy the sun.
What role does the monarchy play in modern British society?
Ah, what role does the monarchy play in British society? Okay, is that correct about the king and the queen?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So that's a very good question because things are changing. So in the past, the king or the queen were very important in England because they would make decisions. They would say if England was going to have a war, or if people should pay more tax, or what very important decisions would affect the population of the country. In the past, hundreds of years ago, that was the responsibility of the king or queen. But then we moved to a parliament system, to a democracy, where people vote and they elect representatives to parliament. And it is now the prime minister who makes decisions. So the last prime minister of England was a man who came from an Indian family. His name was Rishi Sunak, and he was the prime minister of England. But recently we had an election, and now we have a new prime minister called Keir Starmer. And for this reason, the king and the queen, they don't really make decisions anymore. They don't really have a role to play in deciding the future of the country. They are more symbolic. So they symbolize the tradition and the old way in England, and they obviously attract a lot of tourists because they live in palaces, and a lot of tourists come to see the king. King Charles now is the king after his mother, Queen Elizabeth, died. So they really have no role in government, no role in politics. but they represent tradition.
Can I ask a question, sir?
Yes, of course.
What is the significance of afternoon tea in British culture?
Good. Thank you. So this is a very interesting question because I believe tea was discovered in India, and the British tasted tea for the first time in India and loved it. And they said, we want to take some tea from India to England. So after that time, lots of people in England began drinking tea. And most people in England drink tea with a small bit of milk, okay, which is very different because in other countries, lots of people just drink tea with no milk. But in England, people like to put milk in their tea, and sometimes they put some sugar. But a lot of people prefer herbal tea, which is made from flowers, different flowers and fruits, and they don't put milk in that kind of tea. Now, traditionally, in the past, when lots of people didn't work, especially women, they stayed at home, and therefore there was a tradition of drinking tea in the afternoon and eating some sandwiches, perhaps some sweets, cakes, etc., at about 5 o'clock, 4 or 5 o'clock. But now, because most people, most adults work, and they work until 5 or 6, and then they have to drive home, now afternoon tea has basically disappeared. It's not very common for people to stop work and drink tea and eat with their friends. But of course, people still drink tea throughout the day, but sometimes they drink while they are working. They don't stop for tea. Hello.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. My name is Radhika. I'm studying 8th class from GPS Saidavaram. I'm so excited to ask you a question. Can I ask, sir?
Of course.
How do British celebrate major holidays like Christmas and Easter?
Okay, good question. So Easter is normally in the month of March, sometimes April, and it changes because of the Christian calendar. So it follows a period of time after the beginning of a period where some people traditionally would fast. They would not eat during the day, and they would not eat meat. And that period is called Lent. And then after 40 days of not eating meat, traditionally they would celebrate Easter, and people like to eat fish. But now, this was tradition in the past. Now, really, most children are excited about Easter because of chocolate and chocolate eggs. So in England at Easter, it's very common for families to give children chocolate in the shape of an egg, and that is because in the past there was a festival around fertility and new life. Okay, so an egg symbolizes new life, and children always enjoy eating chocolate at Easter. That is the most common way. Another symbol, which is very common at Easter, is a rabbit, and it's called the Easter rabbit. And this is because rabbits have many children, and so they are again a symbol of fertility. So it's a very old festival that relates to new life. That's how we celebrate Easter. And Christmas is celebrated usually with uh, a meal. The family comes together. People travel long distances. If they live in another city, they will take a train or a car or a bus and travel to the family house. Many relatives, many family members together will have a meal, and they will give presents, small presents. It can be anything, okay? Presents can be clothes, it can be toys, it can be sometimes it can be a small decoration for the house. It can be many different things. There's no specific type of Christmas present. And then another tradition in England, which relates to the question about the monarchy, about the king and the queen, is that on Christmas Day, the monarch, King Charles, he speaks to the population on television on Christmas Day, one day in the year when the king gives a speech to everyone and talks about the year which is ending and looks ahead to the new year with a message of hope. That's a very common thing for families to watch TV and listen to the king, or before it was the queen, talking about the year ahead. Okay? Yes.
Here is a list of words that most of the Indians struggle to pronounce. I request you to pronounce that with the British accent.
Okay.
I would like to try with my Indian accent.
Okay.
The first word is Wednesday.
Okay, so we say Wednesday. It's 2 syllables. Wednesday. Yes. Wednesday. Very good. Yes. So many people, when they see the word, they think it's multiple syllables. Wednesday. No, 2 syllables. Wednesday.
Okay, another word that most of the Indians struggle to pronounce is determine.
Okay, so this word, the stress or the emphasis is on the second syllable. So we say determine. Determine.
Okay, determine. So one more time, Green.
Determine.
Determine. Okay, and one more word, that is third word, is technology.
Yes, perfect. Exactly. Technology. Technology.
Okay, fourth word is cough. Cough.
Yes. The pronunciation is very different from the way it is written. So we just say cough.
So one more time, please, Green.
Just cough.
Cough. Pizza. Pizza.
Yes, this word is 2 syllables, and the first syllable is pit, and the second syllable is za. So it's pizza. Pizza.
Pizza. Okay. So another word, that is espresso.
Yes, and it's an Italian word. And again, the stress is in the middle. So we say espresso. Espresso.
Espresso. Okay, seventh word, it looks funny, but it's difficult for most of the Indians. Video.
Perfect. Video. Video.
Data.
There are 2 ways to pronounce this, because in American English they say data, but in British English we say data.
Data. Data. And next word is woman.
In this case, in the plural, yes, in the plural, it's different from the singular. So if you're talking about one woman, the pronunciation is woman, but if it's 2 or 3, then it's women. Women.
Okay, last one is breakfast.
Oh yes, it's my favorite meal. So we don't say break. It's not break. It's break. So we say breakfast.
Okay, and so in addition to this, I have a few questions.
Okay.
First question: how has the University of Cambridge influenced global education and research?
Ah, that's a very good question. So the University of Cambridge has a long tradition for academic excellence. So many of the world's experts in particular areas come to study at or to teach, also to study and to teach at of Cambridge. And one example, some very interesting examples from history. So there was a professor of physics called Sir Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton, okay, and he discovered gravity. So he explained why things fall to the ground, gravity, and he was a professor at the University of Cambridge. Another very famous professor at the University of Cambridge was Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin wrote about the science of evolution and how animals adapt over time. So Charles Darwin was another student and professor at the University of Cambridge. And another example was Stephen Hawking. So Stephen Hawking is again very famous for physics, and he writes about space, about the stars and the planets. So all of these very famous scientists, they were professors at the University of Cambridge. And this means that people come from all over the world to study their PhDs, to become doctors at the University of Cambridge. And many return to their countries to teach, but some decide to stay living in Cambridge and researching here.
Thank you so much, Graham. And another question is, what groundbreaking scientific discoveries have been made in Cambridge?
Right. So in Cambridge today, in modern Cambridge, we have a lot of companies which are related to technology. So some computer science companies. There is a company called ARM, A-R-M, who have their headquarters in Cambridge, and they design microchips which are present in every cell phone in the world. So every mobile telephone in the world, if it's in India or China or England or America, they all have a chip which is created, designed in Cambridge. So technology is a big area. Another groundbreaking discovery was the vaccine for COVID-19. The COVID-19 vaccine was produced by a pharmaceutical company called AstraZeneca, and AstraZeneca are also based in Cambridge. And so it was a discovery in Cambridge which created the vaccine for COVID.
Okay, thank you so much, Graham. And I have a question related to school education in the part of Cambridge. So,
Yeah.
what kind of schools are so popular in Cambridge, public or private? What
Okay.
kind of incentives are provided to the public school students?
Okay, so in England, most people, the majority of people, study in a free state school, a public school, and a very small number of people with lots of money, they go to a private school. Okay, but in both the public and the private systems, the structure is the same. Okay, there's no difference in terms of the years and the names of the schools. So primary school is from the age of 5 or 6 to 10, okay, primary school. And then people usually go to another school, a different building, a different school called secondary school from 11 to 16. And then they do exams called GCSE. The GCSE is the General Certificate of Secondary Education. And they study maybe 8, 9, 10 subjects for the GCSE certificate at 16. Then they may go to another school or possibly the same building, but with a different teacher, different classroom, and they study college sixth form, which we call sixth form. And they do 2 years of study at the age of 17 and 18 to study normally 3 subjects, okay? 3 subjects for 2 years, and then they can go to university.
Okay, again, thank you so much. And what are the subjects that are taught to the students? And
Okay,
another supplementary question to this is, in the Indian context, English is taught as a third language here in this part of India. Most of the emphasis is on listening, reading, and writing, but we don't actually prioritize the speaking ability.
Speaking, okay. Okay.
How about the English originated country, England? Do you stress the spoken skills?
Okay. Yes, thank you. So the subjects at schools in England which everyone must study, which are required, compulsory, are maths, English, and science. Okay, maths, English, and science. And science is physics, chemistry, and biology. Okay, and then you can study, you can choose between, for example, history or geography. And then you can do other subjects like languages, like French, Spanish, German, other languages, or you can do music. And every student also has physical education, physical exercise, physical education for everybody. Now, in terms of English, we study English literature more. So, because everybody already speaks English living here in England, the focus is on the literature, okay, on reading for English. But for other foreign languages like French and Spanish, there is more emphasis on reading and writing and listening, and some emphasis on speaking. So it is necessary to have an oral examination and to speak, have a conversation to succeed, to get the points in the exam.
Okay, thank you so much, Graham. What is the typical day like for school students?
Okay, so the school day begins at 9 o'clock, more or less, 10 to 9, 9 in the morning, and they have lunch at school, and they leave school at about 3 or 4 in the afternoon.
Okay, that means the lunch is provided to the students free of cost.
Some students, if their parents don't have much money, then some students have free lunches, but other students must pay. The parents give money to the students. They have a card, and they use the card to pay for lunch.
Okay. Are students allowed to bring their cell phones to their classroom?
Yes, yes. So my children bring food from home to school.
So I mean cell phones, mobile phones. Are students
Oh,
allowed
iPhone,
to-
telephones. No,
iPhone.
not permitted. Not permitted.
Mhm. Okay. So students, do you have any more questions? So here in this part of India, the Oxford dictionaries, Cambridge dictionaries are very famous.
Yes.
And once we used to refer those dictionaries, but today we are using the online dictionaries.
Okay. Yes.
But Cambridge and Oxford are so famous. So
It's
could you
true.
please tell us something about these two dictionaries?
Yes, certainly. So Oxford and Cambridge are both universities in England, and they both have a long tradition of producing very good dictionaries that are used around the world. And one of the reasons for the success of Cambridge dictionaries is because of the Cambridge English examinations. So in many countries in the world, people do exams to prove that they can speak English. They do the first certificate, they do the Cambridge Advanced Certificate, and sometimes they do the proficiency, which is a very, very difficult exam of English. If you have the proficiency, a Cambridge proficiency exam, it means you speak English very, very well. So because of these exams, many people like to use materials, including dictionaries from Cambridge University Press, from the publisher, Cambridge.
Thank you so much, Graham. And here is my last question. What kind of suggestions or tips you would like to offer to my students to improve their spoken skills?
Okay, that's a very good question. So my recommendation is to read in English as much as possible, because that will improve your vocabulary and your grammar. But in terms of pronunciation and speaking, now if you have access to the internet on your telephone or on a computer, you can access videos on YouTube, for example, people speaking in English, and you can also see the subtitles underneath. So my recommendation is to first watch with the subtitles, because then you understand everything that is being said and the context, and then watch with no subtitles. So you're just listening, okay? And something else you can do to improve your pronunciation is to listen to a sentence or a phrase, pause the video, and then repeat. And you can, if you want to, you can also record your own voice, and then you can compare your voice, your pronunciation, with the speaker on the video and see if it's similar or different, which words are different. So that's my suggestion.
Thank you so much, Graham, and for your time.
Punjab, Sindhu, Gujarat, Maratha, Dravida, Utkala, Vanga, Vindhya, Himachala, Yamuna, Ganga, Uchala, Jala, Taranga, Tava Shubha Name Jahe, Tava Shubha Hasisha Mange, Gahe Rama Jaya Gada. Janagana Mangala Dayaka Jaya He Bharata Bhagya Vidhata Jaya He Jaya He Jaya He Jaya 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 He.
Graham, thank you so much for your time. See you soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.